If it's seeing, then why do you need something to show it?
You can't see what's not shown. V'ha'hefesh, and here goes a gewaldige word. Listen to this. Listen to this word. This word is moedenik. V'ha'hefesh shebein hasoga le'ihu. What's the difference between understanding something intellectual and seeing it? What's the answer? Anybody know?
When you see, you know it's part of you.
But you see, what you see, you know. When you understand something logically, and the basis for your knowing it is logic, it can always be dislodged. If you believe in Hashem because Torah makes sense to you, chas v'shom, someone to come along to you tomorrow and prove to you that it's not true. Which is why you're not supposed to believe in Hashem and practice Torah because you understand it. You're supposed to believe in Hashem and practice Torah because you believe that it's emes on a higher level. But when you know things only on a level of seichel, you're brilliant, very, very smart, you're very, very bright, but someone can talk you out of it. Someone can talk you out of it. Logic can be dislodged. What you understand can be refuted, upgeschlagen. Prove the opposite of it. I don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to share this with kids, okay? I was born in 1965, Tov Shachafei. My earliest memories are the very late 60s, early 70s. I grew up in the 70s, in the Lamets. When I was a child growing up, I'm talking 1973, 74, 75, these years. Don't take this the wrong way, but it is the truth. It was the golden age of Baalei Tshuva. Golden age of Baalei Tshuva. There were so many Baalei Tshuva. And they were so intelligent. Some of them are your grandparents or your parents. They were so smart. And they were so sincere. And they were so chassidish. I mean, the Lubavitchers were sincere. We were poor. We all got shmatas. So it was easier to be chassidish when you have no money than in Baruch Hashem. Thank God for our problems. But it was a very, very special time. It was a very, very special time. And Crown Heights' reaction to the Baal Tshuva was really polar. Some Lubavitchers wanted nothing to do with them. They saw them as an invasion, mamish, like the grasshoppers showed up. And a lot of people felt that way. Others opened their homes, and the Baal Tshuva became part of their lives. I grew up in such a house. All the Baalei Tshuva from that generation came through my house. Yudel Krinsky used to send people to talk to my father. My father was a big chacham. Unfortunately, my father was not zeicher to be in Kodesh. He was a computer programmer, but in his hours when he wasn't doing computing, he was a mashpia to many, many people. And I grew up that way. And I have known some very interesting Baalei Tshuva. I have known people, unfortunately many of them have passed away already. Some of them were such chassidish yidden, you have no idea. They were so chassidish. And some of them were so smart. And some of them were so nuts. There were those two, don't worry about it. Allah said. Okay? But I'm thinking about two personalities, and I'm not going to say names because they both passed away already. I knew a man who was really a genius. Genius. He was a lot smarter than my father. My father's a very smart man. But he respected my father. He was frum, he was aduk, he was so dedicated. But everything in Yiddishkeit had an explanation. Everything. And he was into Kabbalah. It's interesting. He knew stuff. He would research before the days of Google, you know. And he knew stuff. He would sit at our Shabbos table, and another guest would ask a question, and of course they were asking my father, and God forbid my father answered the question. He had to say it because he was there. And he had sources and quotes, amazing. But I don't know if he ever believed in God. He just had proof. He was so smart. One of his children said to me that at the end of his life, he said to him, I'm ready to die and be born from. I want to grow up. I want to grow up in a Yitzhak house like you did, you know. I want to be a fachnyok, you know. He was very smart. And he understood every question had an answer. Now, I'm not going to say he had no emunah. But I will say that emunah for him was complicated, you know. Then I knew people, they were just so sure that this is true, there wasn't to talk about it. They talk to the walls, you know, like my mother. You know? It's true, that's it, it's emes, don't bother me. You know, it's emes. So the Rebbe here says something unbelievable. If you learn Chassidus, Primus HaTorah, and you have to understand everything, someone can slug it up. But if you believe in it, now the language that he uses it because you see it, but people who don't see it also believe in it. You can't slug up Amunah. Let's finish the paragraph before you run out on me, okay? Masha'ein came b're'iyah, 4 lines from the end. If you could see it. Someone can ask you the hardest questions. If you saw God and the guy brings you 101 proofs that there isn't a God, you can say, all your proofs are true. I got one small problem. I met him. Now, there's a famous story. He was a very, very big Gaon. He once got up in Shul before Rosh Pesach, and he brought a moedinika go'inish shir to prove that you're allowed to eat chametz on Pesach. It was brilliant, and it was so good, and it was finished. So he said to the people, "Nu chavre, do you have to get rid of your chametz? You like chametz on Pesach?" So they were like sort of hesitating. And they said, well, according to what the Rav said, it says in Chometz Shivas Yom. It says in Chumash Shivas Yomim Yisrael Yimatzli Bebeteichem Tavaru. In other words, I said what I said, but it says in the Torah to get rid of it. Finished. Turn the brain off and do what you're supposed to. If a person knows Hashem on the level of the ear, and in katnas it's emunah, you can't argue with that. If a person's got it in his brain, you can dream a cup. Lo ye'etzle shum sofig b'ma asher. You saw it, there's no doubt about it. Right? The reason is when you understand it in your brain, it's in addition to you, this you, and this your mind, and this is a collection of information. You collected information, you collect more information which will prove the opposite. When you see something, so even though what you're seeing starts out separate from you, in other words, seeing for the Kabbalist keeping score at home, and of course your own Kabbalist will keeping score, it's quote unquote only the Madrega of Chaya. It's not the Madrega of Yechida. In other words, Mazel Chazi, right? You know Vata Tesava, right? The ear is still seeing something other, but Hadova Nechkak B'Pim Yusuf becomes carved into your personality. Ki'ilu, Yechida is you. Chaya is ki'ilu naseh chelek mi'atzmusei. It's as if it becomes a part of what you are, and once it becomes a part of you, lochein and shayach, but there's shina, you cannot change it. So the Rebbe's explanation for the difference between seeing and understanding is anything you can understand, you can then disunderstand. What you see, it's also coming from outside of you, but seeing is believing. When you see something, I got to finish with a story, okay? And next time we learn, we'll talk this over more barichas. We had 12 whole minutes to learn, so less than about chazir. A chassid came to the Tzemach Tzedek. And he said to the Tzemach Tzedek, Rebbe, Chab Sveikis Nemun. There's more than one story like this. I have doubts about Amunah. Tzemach Tzedek said, why? He said, what do you mean, why? I never met him, I never saw him. A whole day, they talk about the Eibishter, and then you lay it on the other, nobody ever saw him. So the Tzemach Tzedek, and therefore you don't believe in, yeah, if I'll see God, I believe in God. So the Tzemach Tzedek says to this chassid, tell me, I'll ask you a question. Have you ever seen the Tsar of Russia? Like Begashmias, I don't mean in a photograph. Today you can use AI to create anybody you want. Have you ever seen the Tsar? He says, no. So the Tzemach Tzedek says, is there a Tsar? Or maybe it's a Baba Meister, there's no Tsar. You haven't seen him? He says, no, Rebbe, my brother lives in the big city. And there was once a parade, and the Tsar was there. My brother saw the Tsar. And then he says to the Tzemach Tzedek, but the ganze Ernstkeit, und Rebbe, mein Bruder ist nicht kein Lügner. Rebbe, my brother would never lie to me. So the Tzemach Tzedek says to this chassid, bin ich a Lügner? Would I lie to you? No, Rebbe, chas v'shom. Gleib mir, says, da an Eibishter ich hab ihm gesehen. Believe me, there's a God, I saw him. L'chaim u'l'shulem.